Hello, everyone. So today, the marketing myth I want to debunk for you involves your logo. And your logo is the end-all, be-all for your brand. Well, it's not. Your logo is not the end-all, be-all for your brand. Let me say that one more time. Your logo is not your solve for your branding problems. So, wanted to do a little exercise with you all. So take a moment, think about 1 to 2 of your favorite brands or well-known brands. I'll give you a few minutes to think of a couple. Okay, what comes to mind? How much of that time did you spend thinking about the logo itself? By that I mean the mark, the color palette, the typography, things of that nature. How much of that time did you spend thinking about your relationship with that brand? How that brand made you feel? Did you think about a memory you had interacting with that brand? Did you think about your last engagement with that brand, whether it was in person or on social or what have you? Think about it like this. Your logo is the door. Your brand is the house. Your logo is the door. Your brand is the house. You could have the nicest door in the world, but if you lose sight of what's going on inside that house, it's all for naught. If you lose sight of what rooms are set up, the upkeep, even the people in that house, they're really making a home. If you lose sight of those, you could have the nicest door in the world and it's not going to do anything for you. One of the things that we ask our clients when we work with them at Christopher & May is, if your brand was a member of the family, what member of the family would they be? Would they be that loving mother? Would they be that protective father? Would they be the fun aunt or the wise uncle? What are those relationships that you have with your audience? Once you spend the time to really hone in on who you are and who you are to your brand or who you are to your audience, that's when you can really roll up your sleeves and have fun with the creative work, the logos, the color, the marketing, things of that nature. So my advice to everyone here is that if you're starting your business or you're midway through your business and you're looking for ways to kind of improve your branding, focus on the people you serve. Focus on the people that you're really looking to make a difference with, and then you'll get to have fun along the way with your logo and with your branding. So I think I went a little too fast, but that's all I got. So thank you very much for your time. And next we've got Christina here with Irene Marie Consulting.
What's up, y'all? All right, guys, for those who don't know me, my name is Christina Mendez, and I have a marketing consulting firm called Irene Marie Consulting. And today we are going to talk about my favorite myth to bust. It's literally the thing I yell about all day long. Social media is not the end-all, be-all marketing strategy for your business. Okay, so I got notes, so I'm gonna refer to them. So I understand, like, we're in 2021, there are billions of users on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and it's the most attainable way to market your business. So I get why everyone pours so much time, so much attention into it, because in this day and age, if you have Canva, if you know a little bit about design, you can pull off some really cool templates, and you could be on your way, right? And so most of us spend our time, we gotta post, we gotta post, we gotta post. I would submit that there's a step that you need to take prior to that. Instead of focusing so much on social media, I want you to focus on a different component. I want you to focus on the message. And so what I mean by that is, here's a statistic from Contagious by Jonah Berger. How much of word of mouth do you think actually happens on social media? Can anybody give me a percentage? How much do you think word of mouth actually happens on social media? You said 30? Okay, give me one more. One more person. 5%. You were close. 7% of word of mouth actually happens on social media. So can you imagine how much time we're worrying about our Instagram aesthetic, our templates, making sure we're posting, and only 7% of someone referring you actually happens online? That's crazy, right? So a lot of what I'm speaking is going to come from a framework that I learned from Jonah Berger, who is a social scientist, and he talks about why things catch on. I read this book 3 years ago, then I reread it again, and I was like, we really need to talk about this because I have so many clients that have consultations with me, and they'll be like, my Instagram is perfect, and it really will be, but they're not making sales, right? Because half of what we do is we focus on, I need to get the perfect Instagram. My Instagram needs to be perfect. I need to post 5 times a day, and if I do all of those things, I'll get sales, I'll get clients. Nah, that's not it. So, business owners are so consumed with that they actually don't take a step back. So with my clients, we take a step back. I want you to think about your message. What actually are you saying to clients? And I think that we don't focus so much on our message because social media manipulates us to think about we need to focus on the sender of our message, right? So if you're a clothing brand, you're trying to get your clothes to a celebrity. If you're a food company, you're trying to get someone to co-sign your recipes. But if you took a step back and focused on the message of what you're saying, you wouldn't even have to spend thousands of dollars on influencer marketing. You wouldn't have to spend thousands of dollars on someone managing your social media. Not to say that's not important, but you could take ownership of your messaging, of your marketing, of your bottom line if we focused on the message. So if you're asking me, Christina, how do we do that? I am so surprised how many business owners do not launch consistent marketing campaigns. And what's a marketing campaign? A marketing campaign is defined as an organized course of action to promote a product or service. So let's take Shopify. Let's take an e-commerce business. If you have a clothing line, right, and you have 5 different categories, say you have shirts, dresses, shoes, and accessories. Why aren't we doing marketing campaigns to expound each of those, right? And if I do have clients that have done marketing campaigns, they've only done one. It's the rollout of the business. It's the introduction. Hey, we're here. But after that, what do? They fall into the traps of thinking that they have to obsess over social media. So then they begin to post. Let's get things out. Let's show people what we're doing. And they're not always getting the ROI that they want, right? Because you didn't take the time to focus on actually what you were saying to your customer base. So how do we do that? A marketing campaign is constructed of 3 things: content, strategy, and execution. So social media is a component. It's very important, but it's not the end-all be-all. It's really one of the last things that we need to think about. So how do I take ownership of my message? Jonah Berger in Contagious presents a couple different things. He has a program called STEPS. And so there are 6 principles that you need to focus on in your social media to take your social media back. Now, if you can do all 6 of these things within one marketing campaign, he proposes that this brings more of a likelihood that your campaign will go viral, that people will get to talk about it. Because in this day and age, even though social media is everyone's life, word of mouth reigns king, right? So I'm combating kind of what we've been told. We've been told content reigns king. And it does, but it's what your content is saying. Okay? So I'm going to go through all 6 things. And they're called STEPS, so this is like an acronym. The first one is social currency. People care about how they look to others. They want to seem smart, cool, or in the know. So be sure to find inner remarkability and make people feel like they're insiders. So what that means is, if I tell you something cool, if I tell you about a cool restaurant that I went to in New York, I have leveraged my social currency by giving you that. And that makes me look cool. I rise in the ranks. So what in your brand has some inner remarkability that you can parlay to someone else? What's remarkable about it? And how can you make your customer base feel like an insider by telling that information to someone else? So a good example of that was, if you guys aren't familiar, there's a rapper named Nipsey Hussle, right? He was a no-name. No one knew him. And he came out with something called a $100 mixtape, right? He didn't have a marketing budget. He didn't have a marketing team. So he had to find a way to get the whole world talking about him with no budget, with no social media team, with no company. What he did was he decided that he was going to find the inner remarkability in his business. And he came up with a concept where he was going to come out with a $100 mixtape. It's never been done before. No rapper has ever came out with a $100 mixtape, right? So what it did, it got the entire world talking about Nipsey Hussle, right? So him just crafting and owning the message of what he was trying to do gave him a bigger ROI than if he hired a marketing team to push his mixtape, to be on his brand, PR. So how can you get people talking about your brand and making them feel like an insider, making them feel powerful in telling your story? The next one is triggers. So top of mind means tip of tongue. So here's the easiest one. If you have peanut butter, you have what? What do you have? Jelly, exactly. So peanut butter is a trigger for jelly. Jelly never has to market itself because peanut butter serves as a trigger. An example of this, YouTube went to Jonah Berger and he was like, we have this video that keeps going viral every year. It has like 300, I think it has 1 billion streams by now. And it was by a woman named Rebecca Black. She made this song called Friday. Y'all, the song is terrible. It is the worst song I have ever heard. It's terrible, right? And so YouTube was like, why is this song trending? Why does this song keep going viral year after year? Nobody could figure it out. What happens was, guess what? Every Friday, coworkers shared this song to their other coworkers to annoy them on Friday. So guess what the trigger was? Friday. So it had inherent marketing in the message that sold itself. So that's why people still share that song to this day. It's like, we need to play the Friday song. So that was a trigger. So is there a trigger, an environmental trigger that you can put inside of your marketing to get people to talk about your business, your marketing campaign, your product? Next, we're going to talk about emotion. Now, emotion is simply what it is. Everyone knows what an emotion is. But there's actually emotions that will get people to share more than others. People will not share sad content. People will not share content that makes them feel content. The only time people share really happy content is if it really makes them happy or if it really pulls at their heart. Case in point, what we just saw with Blue's Clues and the Steve video, right? That video was genius because it pulled at millennials' heart and got them to share it. Guess what their marketing campaign was? 25 years of Nickelodeon. That probably outperformed any marketing strategy that they have within their marketing campaign because it got people to pull at an emotion that we can all share. And emotions are universal, no matter if you're black, white, brown, or Latino, right? So how can you have an emotion, a pull out an emotion in your marketing strategy? People do not share sad content. So the high arousal emotions are the ones you want to focus on. You want to focus on anger, which can sometimes be good if it's a call to action for a social issue. You want to focus on excitement, or you want to focus on shock value, right? So far, social currency in your message, is there an environmental trigger in your message, and is there emotion? Now, the next one is public. If you are a nonprofit that has a cause that you guys are championing in your marketing, how can you get that cause to go public? So No Shave November, right? That was a marketing strategy. They got men to not shave every November for their cause. So guess what that did? That took something that was private, to the nonprofit or the people that were affected by it, and it made it public. So now every time someone who's usually clean shaven is having a beard, you're like, why are you doing that? Guess what happens? Now they're sharing what that is. Word of mouth. You need to get people to talk about these things. The next one is practical value. This is probably the easiest one to do because every service has a practical value. Let me zoom in. So news you can use. So that's more like how-to tips, tutorials. So if you have a product or service, you need to make a really good tutorial that is a tool to show people how to use that product because that's practical value. And guess what? As humans, we want to be helpful to others. So if your how-to video, which is inherently selling your product, is a helpful tutorial, I'm more likely to share that. Oh, you just bought that blender? Look, here's this really cool tutorial on how to use the blender and make a smoothie. Now I've embedded my product, my brand, and what I want you to do. I want you to buy that blender. Guess that was simple compared to a whole aesthetic of influencers using your blender and templates on motivational things about cooking from home, right? And then the last one is stories. Information travels under what seems like idle chatter. Stories are vessels. So build that so people want to tell your story and carry your message in that. A great example is the story of the Trojan. We keep talking about that story. Now, we may forget the actual details of the Trojan story, but we all know that story. A great way that a brand did it, Subway, right? Subway told a story of Jared. And Jared ate Subway for 3 months, and he lost a gang of weight. That one was a seller because it had more than just a story in it. It had social currency because it was like, whoa, like, y'all, this man ate Subway for 3 months and lost 300 pounds. It had a trigger, eating lunch. It had a story, and it had emotion, right? So you can see why if you can get all of these steps into your marketing, that could reign king more than social media. So I challenge you to find social currency in your marketing campaign, triggers, emotion, public, practical value, or story, and really begin to think about the message of your brand and what you're saying. Build those out into marketing campaigns. Focus more on that, and then social media won't be so stressful because then you'll just be kind of nurturing your audience. You won't have to depend on social media to tell your story and market your business. Thank you guys so much. Now we have Taylor Hudson-Snead from Tailored Social, and she's going to be talking about hashtags.
Hello, everyone. I'm Taylor Hudson-Snead. I'm the owner of Tailored Social and Saturday Studio. Today, I'm going to be talking about hashtag, what works and what's fake. So the first question you'll probably ask yourself is, do hashtags work? The short answer is yes. The long answer is you need to strategize them and use them differently for the different platforms that you're working on with social media. Some common rumors that we have about hashtags, for Instagram specifically, does the algorithm dock you if you use the hashtags in the caption versus the comments? The research shows, and the research as in where I'm getting my information from personally, from experiments that I do on my accounts and my clients' accounts, and then I also listen to lots of social media podcasts and videos because it's my job. But there's one specifically that I really love, and it's Agora Pulse's social media lab, where they dedicate a monthly budget to debunking social media myths. So they have a few specifically focused on hashtags, and one of the studies that they did focused on whether or not to use them in the captions or the comments, and the results were pretty even amongst both. The downfall was that people often forgot to use the hashtags in the comments because they post and then forget about them. So it's easier to use them in the captions because you're less likely to forget about them. But then on top of that, you might see different results for different key performance indicators. So with the comments or captions in the comments, it can be a higher reach, whereas captions using hashtags in the captions, you can get a higher, engagement level. So it's all about experimenting. Another rumor is that you'll be punished for using the same hashtags over and over again. That has a little bit of truth in it, and that you shouldn't use the same hashtags over and over again because you should be experimenting and seeing what works best for your business. And also, you can come off as a little spammy if you continuously use the same hashtags over and over again. Another rumor would be hashtags with higher post counts work for better visibility, but the truth about that is that they're higher performing hashtags. It's going to be more difficult for you to rank in those or the higher performing hashtags because there's a lot of people posting in those and a lot of larger accounts. You might not show up in that specific hashtag if it's larger. So here's just some quick facts about how many hashtags you should be using for each platform. Instagram, you should be using all 30 every single time. And again, there's been the myth-busting studies on Agora Pulse's website where you should be using all 30. They proved that the engagement rate skyrocketed when using all 30 and strategizing them at the same time. The sweet spot for Twitter is 2 to 3 hashtags. And then Facebook is 2 to 3 hashtags as well. LinkedIn is 3 to 5. And it's a little bit opposite on LinkedIn. You're supposed to be using the more broad hashtags instead of the lower ranking ones under 50K on Instagram per se. Let's see. Now I'm just going to run through some statistics like I told you about the common rumors. So Agora Pulse experiments on hashtags for Twitter. They discovered the sweet spot was exactly 4 hashtags, outperformed all of their counts. Another Agora Pulse experiment found that 30 hashtags received 13.5% more likes on average, and the new data showed that it reached 43% more likes when using all 30 and strategizing them. And then another experiment on Into the Minds. They said the positive effect is maximum when the post has 3 hashtags on LinkedIn, and the probability rises to 7.2 increase in reactions. And then for Facebook's Sprout Social, they said while comparing Facebook to Instagram, the latter posts with hashtags received 12.6 increase in engagement. So the complete overview for those would be just the main takeaways when using hashtags is obviously quality over quantity, continuously strategize the number of hashtags you're using, and keep experimenting throughout. Next up with the debunking marketing is Israel with LMG.
Hello, and thank you to all those that have already shared some of these awesome myths that have been debunked. Hope you've been gathering great insights already. Like they said, I'm Israel with LMG. We're a marketing agency out here. And the myth that I'm going to be debunking, or the concept I guess that I'll be demystifying, is the idea that paid advertising is going to take, or that you would need to invest a lot of money, basically, in paid advertising. And like we said, that is the end-all, be-all. Now, first of all, as we have shared already, and I think the common trend that we're understanding is that there's no one strategy that you can implement in isolation, and that you're gonna need to have a diverse mix of strategies to actually drive results when it comes to sales, when it comes to marketing and growing your business. In particular, so at LMG, I specialize in social media strategy and search strategy. And a lot of times, people think that you need to invest so much money in your paid advertising. And really, the truth is that you should be investing more of your money in your organic marketing, your organic content, and setting a strong foundation to grow your business. And one of the things to validate that when we were looking at strategy, and this is something that we've actually utilized for a lot of our clients, is the idea or pulling the best practices from agriculture science. So if you look at the best practices for agriculture science, and there's an organization called Soil Quality, and they share the best practices for maintaining healthy soil and sustainable growth. The number one tactic that they recommend for sustainable growth is to introduce organic matter into the soil. And so knowing that, and then after that, another one of the best practices is to avoid excessive tillage and to avoid soil compaction. Soil compaction in particular is the one that debunks the myth about excessive and large budgets for paid advertising, because that would say that you're just trying to plaster your message and plaster your product everywhere. And that is actually not the best practice. That is not what you need to do. What you should be doing is investing in your organic content, so that, because just like soil and because you have a foundation, that's the most important thing. A lot of the times, ads, both on social media or search engines, are pointing to your brand, right? You're hoping that they're gonna click on that ad and land on your website, land on your social media page. If you don't have a rich organic content mix, if you don't have rich soil for them to land, it will actually be a negative experience for your customers. So you want to make sure that you are investing in your organic content. And it's also changing the perspective as to what paid advertising is, or I would say paid media, right? Paid marketing. Instead of paying for ads, I would suggest that you invest in your team. Invest in the time it takes to come up with quality content. And also, which is a hard thing to do, invest in engagement. Engaging with your customers organically in quality ways, providing value to them, is one of the things that will really, really drive your business growth. They want to see the human side of your brand. They want to see an actual person responding to them when they have questions, or if they like or even comment on your content. And that doesn't, we don't always have the time to do that. So that would be a worthy investment, and that would drive results. It's the same thing as the soil. If you're able to nurture your soil, your crops will grow. So that is really the myth that I wanted to bust today. And the other thing is that we were saying that, okay, you have to invest a lot of money when you have to do ads. Now, the reason why I want to bring that up is because I'm not saying that there's not a place for paid social media ads, Google ads, search. Because of the competition that's out there, because of the fact that there's a lot of these industries that we're in are oversaturated, oftentimes you do have to invest to get your product in front of people, and by investing in ads. But when you do that, understand that it doesn't take a lot of money to start and to get some traction. On social media, Facebook in particular, I'll give you the number. It's anywhere between $5 to $10 per day. That's how much it costs to start. And so you usually want to look at that in a monthly window, so that's anywhere between $150 and $300 per month for a campaign to be able to drive what on the, if you're talking about $5, that's probably something more so you're investing in awareness and reach. Then the next level up would be investing in content that will drive engagement. And that means that it's going to share your ad with people who are interested in your brand and are going to engage via comments, via shares, via likes. And that is such a rich place in the middle, because the people who engage with your content are people that you can now go and continue that conversation with. You can follow up, you can nurture those relationships. So you don't have to spend that much, and even before you think about investing and putting money towards ad dollars, I would challenge you to invest in your organic content, having rich soil. We actually wrote a blog, if you wanted to check it out, LMG, that's the company that I work for, LMG Results. It's called Good Soil, Good Social. Maybe we could even see how well it does on Google. If you just Google Good Soil, Good Social, LMG, maybe it'll pop up. But that's where we really broke down those best practices. It did? Wow, look at that. So check it out, and that's where you can get some really good insights there, and know that it starts with that seed, it starts with the good soil, and then everything else is going to work better when you have a strong, firm foundation. Thank you so much. That is my time. That is the myth that I'm debunking today. And we are going to go ahead and transition to the next segment of this panel. Over to you, Audrey.
So we'll pull all of our panelists back up, and then we're opening the floor for Q&A. So the experts are in the room and at your disposal. Please raise your hand. We've got a couple mics we're going to try to run around to you. But pick their brains. Let us know what marketing questions you have.
Hi, I'm Allison with the Downtown Dayton Partnership. This is kind of tailored toward the hashtags question, but can you give us a little bit of insight on if we have our own marketing campaign and kind of our own slogan that we're trying to get out there, even if it's not a huge hashtag when we first search it, about the importance of using that in your marketing? Is that a good tactic?
You hold your mic a little bit closer. I couldn't hear it.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. I didn't want it to be too loud. For hashtags, if we're doing our own campaign, even if it's not one that when we search it, it's a large hashtag to begin with, the importance of still using it, or should we not use those kind of organic hashtags that we're creating?
Oh, is it okay? Great question. You should definitely still use your branded hashtags. Just keep them in the mix with the other larger scale hashtags. So maybe keep your branded hashtags to just 2 to 3, and then create larger ranking sets going up from there.
Nice job, everybody. That was good. Question for you about the steps. What was number 4, public? Could you elaborate on that one a little bit further?
So public, I think that framework works best with like nonprofits or social justice things, because it's something that you're talking about maybe privately with inside of your sector, and you want to make a public call to action. So like, for example, if you are championing the endangerment of Asian elephants, that's only prominent in Asia, but you want the United States to know about that. So I think that works the best in something that is private, or it may be an issue even within your business that your customer base doesn't know is an issue, and you want to take that public, how are you going to do that? Another really good example of that would be Louis Armstrong. I think that's the trumpet player. What's the biker? Lance Armstrong. I said Louis. Lord Jesus, them two different people. So they wanted to champion his call to action about cancer and his nonprofit. So when they first did it, it was going to be either a bike across America or it was going to be wristbands, right? Nike was like, that's stupid. Like, we don't like either one of these. So his marketing manager went back and was like, how can we take this public where we can get the world to know that people are engaging with this? So they decided they were going to stick with the wristbands. First they were black. That didn't work. So then they changed the wristbands to yellow. And so now you have made something that was a private issue a public issue because everyone has these live, strong, yellow wristbands on. So now you're getting to see how many people are actually supporting this movement. And even more, what's the word I'm looking for? Even a more quiet example is Apple. When Apple came out with the the iPod, they were going up against the Walkman, right? So they were like, how are we going to get the public to know that they messing with our product, right? So they did something very discreet. They changed all their headphones to white. Because guess what? It was a ripple effect. You started to see people. Remember when the iPod came out, like, his headphones is white. And so that's how that was a ripple effect. They took something private, which was the resurgence of this new product, and they made it public by having white headphones. So now you got to see, like, it's more white headphones that are being used versus black. So that's a way for the public.
It's like a big visibility, public visibility.
But not in a silly way. It has to be in a very authentic way. It can't be like you were saying with like billboards everywhere. It has to be subtle where it feels organic and genuine. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Here you go. Over. Good afternoon. Okay. I'm Jeremy Ward. My wife and I are co-owners of a local fitness organization, Sweat Like a Mother Dayton. And as we've been growing over the last 5 years, it's been really hard to find marketing teams that will take on really small projects in the early life cycle of a company. And I was just curious, from either your organization or your knowledge of this area, how can very early, very small local businesses find partners such as yours at an affordable rate?
I think social media, I think we all are accepting clients now, right? What's your actual industry?
Health, wellness, fitness.
Health, wellness. You're a trainer or a gym?
It's a community-based, motherhood-based fitness business.
You got some fire stuff you can do with your marketing. But I mean, I think Launch Dayton and organizations like this, they bring us on to give us visibility so that we can help your guys' bottom line. So I know for Dayton, to find people like us, come to Launch Dayton, come to Parallax, come to these type of things. But if you're just looking overall, social media, another good thing, Instagram is now a search engine. So it wasn't before, so they now have enabled and empowered more the function of alt text, which goes into SEO strategy, which is a whole rabbit hole of himself. But you can just search social media marketers or marketing professionals in Ohio on Instagram, and you'll start to garner those results if people like me are doing our job and doing our alt text. So that would be something that you're
Needless to say, you're in the right spot if you're looking.
I could answer, to add some insight to that, LinkedIn will really help as well in terms of what we were talking about, search engines and using the right keywords when you're trying to find them, because social media, like she said, has changed to be tracking for those keywords. So if you are able to, look, for probably marketing manager or marketing consultant and, Dayton, Ohio, things like that, just trying out what you can find. Those would actually help you find the actual individuals who identify as those types of professionals. And then because it's already a platform that's optimized for those types of conversations, you could probably be able to reach out for inquiries and then follow up from there. So that might be helpful as well.
And to add on to that, I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to go back and I want you to go look at your website dashboard analytics, and I want you to see where are you getting the most traffic and start with finding that type of marketer. So if you're getting most of your traffic from Instagram and Facebook, then you need a social media manager. If you're getting most of your traffic from video and ads campaigns, then you may need someone to draft you a campaign and then do paid ads. So go look and see where your leads are coming from first. So that way you're just not shooting in the dark and you're hiring the wrong professional. You want wherever what's already working, we just need to make that bigger.
Hello.
Hi.
I am an artist and I have a question about Facebook. When I post one of my art pieces, I get a fair amount of likes, over 100, but I don't know what to do with likes. What does that mean in terms of how do you follow up with those likes?
So in the social media world, I know Taylor can agree, likes are something called a vanity metric. I don't actually care about likes. I care about qualified leads. So what I would do for you, Facebook's a little bit different because you don't want to be like creepy and like adding a whole bunch of people on Facebook because you only have 5,000 friends you can have. But I would start curating, like he said, conversations underneath that post. And then what you need to do is try to get as many of those people that really liked your art to subscribe to your email list. Sales are won in your email list and your email list segmentations. They're not really won on social media. They can be if they're just gonna like it and be like, hey, I wanna purchase this. But you wanna really be crafting a really engaged email list, and your leads are gonna come from the people that liked your post because they've already showed interest in your pictures. So now the name of the game is let's get their information and let's get them on an email list so you can send them more pictures of your art. Make sense? So just start conversations like, thank you so much. What did you like about it? It can just be that simple. It doesn't have to be salesy. Just start talking to them so that they know that you're open to conversation. And then at the end of that, say, hey, well, if you want more, go ahead and subscribe to my email list. And that's what you do with your likes.
Another thing that you can do with your likes is invite them to follow your page. Specifically on Facebook, they make that really easy for you to do. So anybody who has liked your post, check and make sure that they are following your page, because then they'll be able to see other content. It's like one level before the email list that she was talking about, so that you make sure that you'll get more reach for your content. On your page, you'll have there's a bell that will show you like notifications if you have like a Facebook page set up for your brand. And on there, you can, it's just a click of a button and it'll show you everyone who's liked, and you can invite them to follow your page. And that way you're starting to grow your online social media community right there on the platform.
I also think it's important to have a call to action in the captions of your post. So when you're sharing and getting a lot of engagement on that post, make sure there's a call to action that will move them towards the next step, whether it's the email list, following along the page, or actually purchasing the art piece.
So for those of you who didn't know, CTA is call to action. I've been in marketing for almost 7 years, and I just figured that out. So when you see someone saying, what's your CTA? I used to be like, what is that? What are you talking about? It means call to action, which is basically every time you're posting something, like Taylor said, you need to be asking them for something. Either it's to follow, to get on the email list. You just need to be getting something from them, because it's a dead post without a call to action. Make sense?
Joshua Knowles, Companion Title, LLC, as well as Knowles Law Group. Couple questions. So first, can you, and this is for whoever, can you tell us the difference between marketing products and marketing services? And then also, question two, I've, I've dabbled into something called psychographics. Can you talk to me about going beyond demographic marketing and expanded into psychographic marketing?
Oh my gosh, I was going back and forth if that was gonna be what I talked about. But I was like, I don't wanna be like a nerd and then they think I was weird. so, so product-based marketing, you're gonna focus on, if we're using Jonah Berger's framework, you're gonna focus on practical value, inner remarkability. That's probably where, cause like, you'll look arrogant being like, I'm a great person, right? Service-based marketing, you wanna focus on the value. Now, I'll tell you where sometimes you can go wrong with being a service-based provider. I've made this mistake myself, is sometimes when we are giving a service, we sell ourselves. And what happens is you set your business up to where it's like, nah, I wanna talk to Tony. Nope, I don't wanna talk to you. So what you need to do with service-based marketing, which is like the very first thing, is you need to come up with a methodology. You need to come up with a methodology that you sell. So for example, at Irene Marie Consulting, my methodology is align, decide, and execute. So I'm big on, I take life coaching practices and I focus on my clients and who they are and making sure they understand who they are before we're talking about marketing, because I want the marketing to be authentic. Then we decide on a framework that comes from the STEP methodology, right? And then we execute. So what is going to be your methodology? Right? Because outside of that, you're going to come off very salesy. You're going to come off very like, it's me, come mess with me. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to need to build value, and to build value, you need to have a methodology. And then underneath the methodology, you'll have a framework. Methodology and framework are two different things. So that would be that. Now your second question, which was psycho, I don't be knowing the words, the terminology, but I be knowing what I'm talking about, if that makes sense. That goes into building a customer avatar, and this is for everybody. Across the board, when I have consultations with clients, they get this wrong. They'll say, I did my customer avatar, and I'll look at it, and it'll be name, age, city, median income. And I'm like, this is everybody. Like, I can't do nothing with this. Like, this doesn't tell me who the person is. So there's actually two different things. It's the psychoanalysis of a person, which goes on to why they decided to make that decision, and then it's the behavioral segmentation. You actually need both. So you need to know the person psychologically, and then you also need to know their behaviors in which they do things. So things like a psychological one would be, how do they text, right? Gen Z people, they text in shorthand, and they like don't capitalize anything. Right? Millennials, they want to like spell stuff out because we want to seem like we're still intelligent and with the times. So that would be something psychological. Something behavioral will be when and where do they engage with you, right? Do they click from you from Facebook? Do they click from you from a website? Are they using mobile? Are they using website? Are they using social? So you need to have psycho and behavioral in that, and you need to ask questions like, you need to know, what do your customers do outside of engaging with your product, right? What do they care about? Where are they getting their news? What angers them? You need to know, literally, you need to know your audience better than they know you. Because then you will be able to it'll seem like you're directly talking to them. So that's the difference, especially for a one-person show. If you're an attorney, then you're selling you, right? Sell a methodology, sell a framework, so that you're not coming off salesy, you're not coming off arrogant, and they can buy into the idea of what your firm does versus you, the person.
Say to Christina's point too, it's really about building that community, right? So you want to be where your audience is. There may be content that you push out, has nothing to do with your product or service, but it's something that your audience deems as valuable. So I think one of the things that I think we'd all attest to is, from a marketing standpoint, you don't need to be anywhere and everywhere. You need to, narrow your focus and be where your audience is. Understand those audience personas. Where do they go to consume content? When do they consume content? There's some infant brands that post at 2 a.m. because they know moms and dads are up, on their phones. So just having that granular of knowledge around who your audience is and how they consume content is really how you're going to start to establish that value and establish that community.
And don't get discouraged when it comes to marketing, because there's a statistic that says people need to see your content 11 times before they engage with you. So if you come to me and you're like, I posted 3 times, that's not 11. You need to post 11 times. And Later, which is the platform that I use for social media management, they came out with a report last week that says if you are between 1,000 and 250,000 followers on Instagram, you actually need to post 14 times a week. If you are under that, you need to post 20 times a week. Here's where it gets really stupid. When you get to 250,000 followers, you only got to post 1 time a week. Ain't that crazy? So, but people need to, you have to warm people up. I think sometimes we're like, here's our sale, people buy. But that was, you're like forcing it. You have to nurture them. So they need to see content 11 times. You need to warm them up. So you're going to need to say things more often than none. And don't make your social media always about asking for something. So again, as a service provider, people buy from people. And the best brands feel like people. Look at Rihanna. Look at the Fenty products. You still feel like you're buying from Rihanna's personality, and that's why Fenty works, right? So service providers, show us your life outside of work. Show us your kids. Show us what you like to do. Show us your favorite coffee shop. For product-based businesses, don't just sell us that. Show us how it looks in real life for my life. And that will help you guys show up more authentically on social media. That will make your engagement better because you're talking about your real life. You're not like a fake person like hiding behind your logo. And it'll make being on social media fun because guess what? You're gonna attract your tribe. So then everyone's gonna seem like your friends. It's not gonna seem like work. It seems like work when you're selling.
Right. That's true. That's true.
I'll be going on tangents, y'all. This is my jam.
I was like, that's really true.
Like, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah. In addition to that, when you're talking about psychographics in particular, that's like the idea of like, audience insights or more generally market research. And that helps to put the person first before the product. Understanding that so that your whole campaign, your whole strategy is more meaningful because it's understanding the persona or your audience first and not trying to make your audience understand your product. And so it makes the content to be more relevant, more, it gives like context to your content. That means that it's reaching them at the right time. It's like reaching them where they are. An easy question, or 2 questions, 2 sides of the coin that you could ask are like, what are their pain points? Pain points are the things that bring them pain, that they're struggling with, that they're looking for a solution for, that align with your solution or your service. And then what are their passion points? Meaning, what are the things that excite them? What are the things that bring them joy? And where are the alignments that you can find with your service or your product? And then when you're able to craft your message around that, it's more meaningful, it's more contextual, and it will be able to like cut through the noise, So that's where those kind of insights like psychographic, demographic, the combination of them. And if you have a Facebook account or a Facebook page, audience insights specifically, you can look at like things like what other pages do they follow, what other, what kinds of content do they engage with, and that kind of will help to form that understanding as to how you can make your message more meaningful in the midst of all the other messages that are coming at them throughout the day, throughout their lives.